Good afternoon. I'm Marcus Pask from Spain, and welcome to Talent Unplugged Across the Pond, the show where we dive into the honest, often messy truth about hiring.
Good morning. I'm Megan Conlon from Houston, Texas, and this is the show coming to you from two continents, two perspectives, one unfiltered conversation about how we look at the recruiting industry. And we were just talking about this cool draw that you're about to partake in. You'll have to share with our listeners, which means we may have a US-based podcast episode
We
coming
may
up.
have one. How good would that be? We'll do it in person. We'll do one of our podcasts in the summer. So for anyone listening that isn't aware, the World Cup, the football or soccer World Cup, is happening in the United States and Mexico and Canada next year. And I'm going to be going to it. I'm originally from the UK or England, so I'm going to be supporting England. Sorry to anyone else that is angry about that. I will be going to watch, and the draw is happening in about an hour and a half as we're recording this. And the day after, so tomorrow, we'll find out the locations of where the group draw will be. And there are two cities in Texas that could be hosting England for some of these. And then that is obviously where Megan is based in Texas. So we're going to go and make a pit stop, or I 100% will make a pit stop, and we'll get a podcast done hopefully in the summer next year.
Oh,
That'd be so cool.
and when's the last time you and I saw each other in person?
The last time I think was back in Amsterdam, like two and a half years ago. I think it was maybe a
I
few
think
months
it was-
before you left.
Yes.
Am I right?
So, which it's only been a year.
Oh yeah, of course.
I
God.
feel it feels like ages. It feels like an era ago, but so it's been at least 14 or 15 months.
Yeah. And
So
by
it would
then it'll be
be
2 years.
yeah. Oh, man, that would be what a treat. I was telling Marcus, Texas is a very large state. Houston and Dallas are about a 3.5, 4 hour drive, but I will make it if you're going to be that close to me. Oh, man, that would be fun.
Yeah. I don't think I still can't really comprehend how big some of the United States actually are. Like Texas and most of the states are bigger than the size of England.
I know. Yeah.
It just baffles my mind sometimes when it's like, yeah, you could drive for a whole day and not get out of a state quite easily.
Yes. There a handful of states are that
Yeah.
large. California, another one.
Yeah.
But yes, Texas is very large, very large. But that would be fun. You would, we'll have to get you a cowboy hat, proper cowboy hat,
100%.
cowboy
I am
boots.
going line dancing, okay? Whether you want to come or not, I'm going line dancing. I'm getting some barbecue food. I'm going to do my yeehaws, and I'm going to go and basically do everything that is not probably what Texas people do, but I just envisage it from all the films I've ever watched. Yeah.
My gosh, there are certainly pockets of Texas that still wear their cowboy boots and hats and say yeehaw.
I'd be there. I would be there in a flash, and I think I would be in my element as well. I think I would love it. Absolutely love it.
I'm learning. I've known you for 5 years now,
Yeah.
and I continue to learn new facets of your personality because I never would have pictured you to be like a Texan inside of
Yeah.
a
Do you
very
know what?
posh sounding Brit.
I think I'm so into different cultures. I just love learning and interacting with different cultures, and whatever they do, I want to do what they do for that period I'm there. So
Yeah.
I live in Spain, so, I'm getting used to having a siesta at, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and,
Oh, lovely for you.
yeah, like a long lunch on Sunday, which is, 3, 4 hours lunch where you all sit down and really talk and have amazing food, but it's really spaced out. Those things I really just enjoy. We just went to Japan for our honeymoon, and that for me was another eye-opening experience, really seeing how they cook or how they talk to each other or how they communicate. It was just, I love it. So for me, going to Texas, it's genuinely a few things that I envisage all Texans doing, which is, yeehaw and good day. Do you do a good day? Or like, what do you say to hello in the morning?
Good day is Australian.
It's Australian, isn't it? What is it that you guys say in the morning? Is there something?
We say howdy.
Howdy. There we go. Howdy.
Well, if you start saying y'all, then you
Y'all.
are really a proper Texan. Oh my gosh. I totally agree with you. I'm one of those travelers that does try to at least learn a bit of the language, the native language of
Yeah.
the place that I'm going, out of respect, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Even if English is primarily spoken in many of the places I've
Yeah.
traveled anyway, but immersing yourself in the culture, it's a great experience and also really respectful
Yeah.
of the place that you're traveling to.
100%. And I remember so a few years ago, before I joined Mirror, and actually before we met, I traveled around South America and then went to the US. So we were in California for like 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so we were in LA and San Fran and San Diego, and then went to Las Vegas and stuff. And even just going to those different segments of the state were all
Yeah.
very different. You know, like
Mhm.
how LA people are to San Fran to San Diego or Santa Monica, like these different areas. And each time I felt like I was acclimatizing
Yeah.
to different types of Americans in just one state. And I was like, how is this so different? And then I started thinking, well, if you go to England
Yeah.
and, go to London, 2 hours away is Wales. Like people from Wales are going to be very different to people in London. People in the North speak very differently and act very differently. So I do get it. It's just, it still blows my mind sometimes with the States. And yeah, that piece, it's a new one. And
Yeah.
you were just there. You were just in California, correct?
I was. I went to San Francisco for my second time in my life in a month span
Yeah.
to onboard the two new recruiters that I've been chatting with you about. So they're
Yes.
finally started. So flew out to San Francisco since one of them lives there and decided to do like a 2-day onboarding intensive
So
versus
good.
doing it distributed. And it was so impactful to do it in person.
Yeah.
So the way that I structured our onboarding was I thought about it in like an upside down triangle. So starting very, very broadly with the company,
Mhm.
how our values show up,
Yeah.
the org, our people, team mission, vision, and talent strategy on day one. And then did some brainstorming activities around what does a best in class recruiting function look like? What do
Yeah.
we want our team norms to be? I did some pre work with them for the
Okay.
second day. So let them fill out in preparation for day 2 answers to some questions around their working style preferences, how they like to be rewarded,
Yeah.
their preference around meetings and what makes them feel essentially
Like
safe and
valued as well.
productive and valued. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we took some time and each shared so that their peers and I could hear how we can work with them best and
Yeah.
how we can all show up for each other, how they like to receive feedback, how I give feedback.
Yeah.
So super, super helpful. And I think gives us a leg up just within the first 2
Yeah.
business days
Yeah.
of us working together, gives us a cohesivity that not a lot of teams, especially large teams,
Yeah.
it takes weeks, months, years sometimes to have that synergy. And so we established that right out of the gate. And then day 2 is not as much fun. I will be so honest, not as much fun because it was like more of the nitty gritty of here are our tools.
Oh, yeah.
Let's learn Ashby, our ATS. Let's learn what our kickoff docs look like. Let's learn
Yeah.
about what our process looks like. So you could tell by the end of day 2 that our 2 new folks, their eyes were starting to glaze over a little bit, like information overload. But went out to dinner the first night, did a happy hour with the San Francisco MITRE office. And it was great.
Super
It was
good.
really great. Yeah.
And do you know what? It's one thing that I think a lot of people just get wrong and don't put enough emphasis on onboarding and how critical this is to new people joining. For yourself, for them, for the business as a whole, also for future candidates that they're going to speak to. If you get it right now, then they're also going to share with people how it should be done in the future. And if we can't do it for our own employees, like in recruiting, where we spend so much time trying to find these amazing people and then don't invest that first initial period, you're just falling down. And that's where you start to lose great people very early on when they join businesses. So kudos for you for doing it and spending the time with them. I think it's something that's missed and there's not put enough emphasis on. So,
Yeah, thank you. And we think one thing that we've talked about a bit in episodes is recruiters being strategic business partners versus just order takers.
Yeah.
So we didn't we didn't talk about process or tools or how to recruit at
Yeah.
MITRE at all on day one.
Yeah.
And we will continue to, at least over the course of the next couple of weeks, like the checklist items for my new recruiters is just meet everyone that's
Yeah.
on the team of the main roles that you're going to recruit for. Join their meetings. We joined our EPD all hands. We joined a monthly business review. My recruiters are going to be really arms of the organizations that
Yeah.
they're joining. And I want them to deeply understand the business. I want them to be able to actually tangibly share how our
Yeah.
values show up in our company in real ways. I know that we've probably both worked in organizations that had values and it was hard to maybe articulate how they
Yeah.
showed up in our day to day. So wanted to make sure that the team heard from us. These are actual ways that our
Yeah.
values show up so that it's easier to talk about our culture, easier
Yeah.
to sell the opportunity. So it's definitely
Yeah.
worth the time. And I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's super important. And also, whenever you're joining a business, especially in TA and recruiting, there's probably already an expectation from hiring managers and usually from the business of, hey, I've got these 5 jobs that I'd like that new recruiter to go
Yep.
and work on. And this is burning and I need them to source. And I need them to do this. If you really go straight into that and don't give them time to, as you're doing, why don't you just go and have a conversation with the business? Why don't you just talk to your colleagues, talk to your peers, actually feel like the onboarding process takes a week, 2 weeks, and you have that time to do it. Because if you start doing the work straight away, you're going to miss really that easier way into the organization and actually get flustered very quickly and not have the right information either. Like if you start hiring straight away, you're not going to know who to go to and what person is the right person to speak to because you haven't had those first conversations. I think it's really important that you're doing this. And yeah, kudos. Like I said, it's great. Happy for your team as well.
Thank
Nice
you.
thing to
And
start.
that means that heading into 2026, like Jan 1, we have a team that is ready and raring to go. But up until that point, my other recruiter and I are
You're still hiring like crazy yourself?
yes, we are hiring like crazy, which actually I think maybe leads into the myth that we were going to bust today.
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce it?
Yeah. So a holiday season is coming. The myth is it a waste of time applying for jobs?
The answer is no. My hope, I
Mhm.
don't know that this is happening 100% of the time. I think we've all seen job ads that were maybe old or no longer really accepting applicants,
Yeah.
or in the horrible off chance that they're actually fraudulent or not real
Yeah.
ads. Like that may happen. I think that that's the outlier. But if a role is posted, that company is
Yeah.
actively hiring for it. And there are organizations like mine
Yeah.
that have made 25 hires in the last 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So, yes, absolutely, you should be applying.
Mhm.
This is now the time that companies are doing headcount planning. If the planning was done like really correctly for the beginning of the new year, recruiters are actually already hiring for
Yeah.
the front-loaded roles that people are going to want to hire for in January, February to have folks ready to go at the top of the year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
If the job is posted, apply for it.
Yeah.
Now, I think the caveat there is that the process may just run more slowly based on your availability as a candidate,
Yeah.
based on the hiring team's availability. I know that there are companies that actually shut down entirely the
Yeah.
last 2 weeks of the year. So your candidate experience might be prolonged during this time, but otherwise, yeah, there are definitely teams and lots of companies that are hiring right now. What are you seeing?
Yeah, no, it's similar. I think something that a candidate can do. So I'm working for this AI company as well. I'm consulting for them at the moment. They have a large base in Israel, and that means that Hanukkah season is also going to be coming up, which is different time period for what people might celebrate for Christmas or with other places. For some of these companies, maybe look at where they're based, where they have a large office, because that might influence that they might be closed for a week or 10 days because of how they celebrate that this time of year. But 100%, you shouldn't stop applying for jobs. Things will slow down, possibly, but not everyone is going to be off. There are still going to be teams that need to do hiring. And as you said, get ready for next year, especially I think sales teams that have their quotas for early part of next year. Their quotas do not stop, and they will have them for January, February, March, that first Q1, and they will need bums and seats to start hitting quotas. So for sales teams, I think definitely they are still going to be hiring quite a bit extensively towards the end of the year. And then other parts of the business will do the same if they have really big goals for next year, or just, have great talent that they want to get through the process and don't want to lose out on them. So they'll move quickly with people as well. You're going to see maybe a week or 2 weeks where things will slow down, or you might have to rearrange an appointment or interview, sorry. The rest, no, I think continue to apply. Do not stop at all.
And as you were speaking, I can think of at least a handful of people I know personally that signed an offer on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve.
Yeah. I remember first bit of Miro. I joined in September, I think, of the year. And it got to Christmas and I was literally sending an offer to legal on Christmas Eve because this candidate needed a contract. And it's still happening because, right now we've talked about it, the market is difficult. And, if you're trying to find great talent, you might need to make that offer on a Christmas Eve. So people are going to be working to get things done. They're not going to wait until the new year because you'll miss out.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that the myth, at least in recruiting, that Q4, end of Q4, hiring slows down, your rec load won't be so high. We'll have a little bit of a breather. I don't know about you, but I don't think I've ever experienced that.
No.
At least not post 2020. It has been, an up and down roller coaster. And depending on when your company does headcount planning, again, if they're doing it proactively and correctly, everyone should be recruiting now and hiring now to set up their January, February, March up for success. So,
and if your recruiters are off, if you're speaking to someone, they're going to be handing that role over to someone that is working as well. So that's also why you were saying, it never got quiet for us over Christmas or the holiday season, because if we were in and other people were off, we had their workload. So you would be trying to help them with their jobs that they were hiring for and their candidates, and doing your own definitely doesn't slow down. If anything, if you're working, you just get busier during the holiday season. I always felt. Yeah.
Actually, that brings me to a quick cultural question. In the United States, it is not uncommon to work on Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve to get that offer closed or get the deal signed or bring the customer across the finish line. Is that the same thing in EMEA, in Europe?
No.
I didn't think so.
No, I think there's a lot of people in EMEA would agree with me and say, no, we're not. We're not that dedicated to the cause where we want to do that. The company or the business does not take the priority on Christmas Eve and other days of holiday. But there are going to be people that obviously that do it. But historically, I'm in the pub on Christmas Eve.
As you should be.
Yeah, I'm checking Slack on my phone. I'm maybe responding to a call or an email if it's early enough in the day, and I'm not going to say something I don't want to say after a time in the pub. So that's really what's happening. And actually, a lot of times, if you are working, especially when we used to be in the office, you'd be going for lunch with your teammates that are working that holiday week, and say it was the 20th, 21st, 22nd of December, and it's a Monday, Tuesday. You're going in for lunches, you're going out with your colleagues, you're doing things after work. You're obviously working, but actually it was a good time for you to get to know your colleagues even better. And try and make the deals early on in the day so it doesn't impact on your afternoons too much.
I figured as much. That grind is a very standard American mindset.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I still sometimes smile on the inside because I've just this week for this company that I'm working for, we're looking at lots of different tools. to help us do recruiting. So for anyone that doesn't know, there's tools that we use, which could be calendar invite tools. So like, how do we schedule interviews? There are different tools that will help us do that. If we want to do video interviewing, there's AI note taking that's happening in the background. There's tools that do this. So we're looking at a variety of tools right now. And the difference between a sales manager, customer success manager in the US versus someone in Europe is so different. And, I really see them going through this script in their head of, okay, I'm here, I'm smiling, I'm ready. Hey guys, how are you? What's going on? And really gets through it. And then I had this British guy who's like, hey, what's up? I'm like, and I was like, I don't know which one I prefer, but you really see the difference in how, the conversations go and how enthusiastic people are, but also like how much there's actually what's the word I'm looking for? They're very interested as well. There's actually a genuine interest that comes in, not just the script, but it's very interesting to watch the different sales techniques that happen from culture to culture.
So you're finding that the American CSMs or account managers tend to be more curious?
More curious. They've done their research, they've looked at my LinkedIn, they've looked at my profile, they're asking questions right away. And then, some of the Europeans, I'm not saying it's all of them, but there was a few where it's like, hey, so what are you looking for? Like, what's this cool? I'm like, I think you should be selling to me, not me telling you what's going on. So it is very different, but that kind of alludes to that whole how things are done, US to Europe.
You and I have recruited enough sales folks. We know what a script sounds like.
Yeah.
Like, I have to hit these things. I have to close in a certain way in order to get the deal. That drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
I mean, there was the end of the call with this particular lady. She was saying to me, so we've gone through the demo. I've given you the pricing. Should we, let's book in a call for Tuesday where we can talk more about it. And I'm like, okay, I get this. This is the sales bit where you're getting me on the call to commit to a time in the calendar so that you can do the next sale for me on Tuesday. And I was like, no, I'm not doing a call on Tuesday. I will come back to you in my own time. But again, I could see that sales motion going through because that is how you make better deals. And I completely see it and I get it. It felt a bit too scripted and a bit too forced. And I thought, oh, yeah, maybe we could do this a different way that was a bit more personal and not just the way that you have been taught over the years to do this. But then maybe she's making more deals from doing it that way as well.
Do you know, to bring us back to recruiting?
Yeah.
We fall into this, I think that we can fall into the same trap.
100%.
Recruiters, I think this might be spicy to say, we are pseudo sales folks. We are just people are our product, and we are pitching a company and a culture and an opportunity versus a thing.
Yeah.
And there are instances where recruiters have their feedback form or their list of questions that they stick to asking. And it's ask a question, get an answer, ask a question, get an answer.
Yeah.
But I think you and I and the best recruiters we know, you have to have a conversation.
Yeah.
You have to be genuinely interested and curious in the candidate in order to surmise whether or not this is actually going to be a mutual fit. You won't necessarily get that, at least not with every role. You won't necessarily get that if it's question, answer, question, answer.
No.
This is the exact perfect flow for a recruiter to have in order to have a good qualification pre-screen.
Yeah, and we also have to show up every call. If we're doing a video interview,
true.
we have to show up. If we have 10 interviews in that day, we have to show up and be, hey, nice to see you. Where are you from? What's going on today? And you have to show up. But as you're talking about, it's not scripted in my head. We've done this for many years. For me, it was always a conversation. I would always tweak it slightly, depending on the person in front of me. But it felt for me, it felt very genuine and very normal. And I hope for the candidates it's also did. But yeah, as soon as you get into that scripted motion, that's when you start to feel, it just didn't feel right. I just didn't enjoy that. I was always I'll ask my own questions and figure it out as we go along.
Mhm.
But it's similar to sales, we would have to do objection handling, talk about
Yeah.
salary, talk about compensation,
Yeah.
talk about an interview process.
Yep.
You would have to find out what's really the candidate is looking for. Same with salespeople. What's really this customer looking for? I don't think it's spicy. I think you are hitting the right nail on the head. We are, in essence, salespeople in a different type of category.
I'm sure a lot of recruiters and potentially TA leaders that would bucket that that
Yeah.
concept. But I mean, I think with maybe a lot of caveats, I think if
Yeah.
you distilled it down to what we do, it is at least very adjacent
Yeah.
to a sales process. The other thing that just jogged in my memory is when handling a candidate call is depending on whether that candidate applied and has voluntarily told us
Yeah.
that they are actively interested in our company versus someone that we have sourced or reached out to
Yeah.
cold
Yeah.
and managed to get on the calendar. That call,
Yeah.
that sales call is very different. That recruiting call is very different than, or should be treated very differently than if somebody applied and we already know that there's some interests there.
Yeah. And would you do it? So for me, whenever I had found a candidate on LinkedIn or sourced them in our recruiting language, I would do that first 30-minute call with that candidate, just talking about the job, the business, what they can expect from the process, what they can expect from the company, answer some questions for them. It never felt like a recruiter screen or interview for me. It was more of, as you said, a pitch, kind of a warm conversation to get them interested in this company they may have never heard of, or a job that they're very comfortable in right now and don't want to necessarily make that move. So it is a bit of a different sale versus that first recruiter screen where we are going to be a bit more scripted. There is going to be a conversation about the company, obviously, and about the process, but you can ask a little bit more questions to the candidate about their background and what they're good at and where they have experience versus that intro call that you would have with someone sourced. Do you have as the same? It's always an extra 30 minutes that you have to do with someone that you found?
Yeah, that's a great question. I usually tend to set an agenda with every call, no matter what, and we'll just ask the candidate, is it okay if we just start with learning a bit about your expertise and just an overview of your career so far? I just want to hear you talk about what you do best.
Yeah.
And then I will carve out plenty of time for you to be able to ask me questions about this opportunity since I reached out to you. I like to do at least a little bit of like pseudo qualifying.
Yeah.
So that first call isn't a waste of both of our times if it's not going to be a match anyway. But yes, to your point, especially depending on how senior the role is, I do tend to find that I'm not doing behavioral situational questions on that first call. It will likely have to be either, that call extends to 45 minutes or we have to find another time to chat. Or sometimes that might mean that I position the next call with the hiring manager. I let my hiring manager know I got this person interested. I think high level, it's a match. You might need to do more digging in the next call so that we're not wasting folks' time and we're still being efficient.
Yeah.
But yes, to directly answer your question, I tend to do less qualifying at the top of the call, but I set the same agenda every time. Yeah.
And this might be a future myth-busting question, but you touched on it. When you ask a candidate, tell me about yourself, how long are you expecting them to tell them about yourself?
Oh, that's a great question. So, and I start without fail. I start every call the same. Give me a high-level overview of your expertise in your career so far. I want to hear them tell a story. I know that feels like a throwaway question, but that gives me an idea of a lot of signal, actually. How did they start? How did they build their career so far? What were some reasons for leaving each role? And were they intentional? And, just stacking together some of the early experience qualifications that are necessary. It is sometimes quite a large span of time that a candidate will spend monologuing about.
Do you ever interrupt them or do you let them keep going?
Oh, that's a great question. Sometimes, yes, I will interrupt them.
Yeah.
Sometimes I test to see how long somebody will take
Yeah, I do the same.
to finish.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, it depends on how much experience they have, obviously.
Yep.
I've got some more junior level or entry level roles that I'm working on. It takes maybe 2 to 3 minutes for them
Yep.
to tell me their whole experience post university. If it's somebody who's, a senior VP candidate, it should take 5 to 8 minutes if they're giving me a robust overview.
Yep.
But there are definitely candidates that take 10 to 15 minutes of that call.
Yeah.
Or if I let them, will take 10 to 15 minutes of that call. I urge candidates to be very succinct if they can practice telling their story. And great candidates will give that overview, a couple of bullet points for each role, their reasons for leaving, and then pause and ask me, what questions do you have off the back of that?
Yeah. Or did I miss anything that you're particularly interested in for this role? Or
Yes.
can I expand on something that you're maybe looking for? Yeah, that's what I was going to add. I mean, for me, I agree. Sometimes I've let candidates just talk and keep going, and I'm not going to interrupt because, especially if it's a senior role, I always felt like one of the things we're testing is communication style and how do you read a room. And so if I'm doing a conversation, I'm asking you this first question, tell me about yourself, tell me about your background, which used to drive my wife nuts, by the way, because during COVID, I would have 10 calls a day and she would be sat next to me and she'd hear me do this over and over again.
Yeah.
And then after a while, she used to figure out who was good, actually, from the interviews.
By how long you'd talk to them about it. Yeah.
But yeah, really, for some of these senior roles, I'm testing how you communicate. If I'm giving you some prompts of, hey, this is going on for a while and you're not picking up on this, I know that for a particular stakeholder you're going to work with, they're not going to enjoy that. And I would always give the feedback to candidates at the end as well. I would say, by the way, just some feedback for you. We had 30 minutes for this call. You used 20 of those to tell me about yourself. And I was trying to give you some prompts. In the next stages of interviews, I would just be aware of that and try and read the room better, or else you're not going to be suitable for this role or you're just going to get rejected at the next stage. So I think it's also really important to give that feedback. But I agree with you. I think if you can do yours in 5 minutes, you're in a good place, but also start off with the question of how long do I have? Do I have, 3 minutes or 5 minutes? I feel like candidates always fall down because they don't ask enough questions to understand what it is that you're looking for as a interviewer. And if you just pose some of those questions, you'll actually do a lot better in an interview or a situation.
Yeah. And if you have many years of experience that is applicable or maybe isn't applicable in your professional work history, qualifying that question with saying, would you like the most relevant recent experience, like my last 3 roles versus my last 10 roles? If I've had 15, you and I have 15, 20 years of experience. So I wouldn't go back all the way to Patina Restaurant Group.
But what you would probably say is, I started my career in recruitment agency and I did that for the first 5 years and then I moved in-house. You've just covered 5 years in one sentence.
Yep.
And if they want to learn more about agency, they'll ask you more about that agency side. But realistically, in our worlds now, that's less relevant. And I completely agree, tailor it to what you're interviewing for and you'll get the most out of it. But if you can do it in those 5 minutes, I think you're going to be golden.
Yep. Great tip.
Yeah.
Great tip.
And I think we can do more on this. This is probably a big session for us to do, actually, how to prepare for interviews, how to interview, how to set yourself up. We could do some more.
Yeah, would love that. But we should include another guest, I think, for that episode. But shall we wrap up here?
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, that's it for this episode of Talent Unplugged Across the Pond. We hope you've enjoyed listening, and we look forward to more stories, myth busting, and everything in between. It's a goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me. Bye.
Cheers.